Hey guys, today I'm breaking down and reviewing the Flexcut Pro Series. I'll be making a carving and I'll be testing these bad boys in depth to see if they're worth the $37 a piece. So without further ado, let's get into the review, the test. Let's put these things through their paces. I should say too, Flexcut did send me these, so thanks for sending them. Let's tear them apart. And if you are interested in learning about carving, because in this video I carve a face from start to finish, or a pretty simple one, but if you want to learn about like really in-depth carving, stuff like this and many other project videos, male, female, old and young alike, I have an online carving school that I've been dedicated to for the last 5 years. It's a great resource if you're looking to expand your skills and understanding realism and the human face and the carving realm. So check that out. In the link below. I meant to say that. Alright, so it looks like the 1 5/8" knife and the 1 3/8" knife are both sold individually. So I'm going to start with those two because those are the ones I'm most interested in. They also have a longer blade, I think, what is it, a 2-inch roughing knife, and this 1-inch chip carving knife. But just, I don't have a lot of use for those, so let's crack this open and try out these two that I'm most interested in. Alright, now finally got one of these suckers in my hands. I'm really interested in this shorter style blade, the 1 3/8" blade. They're calling it a detail knife, but to me, that's a pretty standard length, just slightly shorter, whoa, dropping stuff, just slightly shorter than the knife that I'm used to using, the 1.5" blade. So I'd probably end up using this blade more than any other. I like to have a in-between length blade. I like to have a blade that's not too, ooh, looks like a little hook there on the tip, which can be taken care of with a strap. Why don't I do that really quick? There's a little bit of a bend in the tip there. It looks like some damage. Oh yeah, it looks like it got dropped. See that little reflection in the light? Alright, let me just drop that. And if you've been around carving tools long enough, you know it's not too hard to take a real sharp point and just snap it right off. I've done it with some of my best knives. My Badger State blade knife I really like, but I snapped the tip off of that pretty quickly. It's a lot more likely to happen with a profile like this, a very, very pointed profile. Ooh, it's still got that little nail to it, little hang nail. I'm going to take a second to strop this. Ooh, what a way to start, huh guys? Let me strop this out and come right back. Alright, well, I'm not going to sit here and try and get this to be perfect when I've got another 1 3/8" detail knife. A little redundancy here on Flexcut's behalf, but I appreciate it in this case because that one's got a little dent in it from the manufacturer, so that's not good. I think we need to get a little bit better at monitoring our products before we send them out there, Flexcut, but let's see how this one is. Oh, the same thing! Wow, so interesting. A little bit of, see that reflection? Wow, that makes me think that it's actually not just a one-time issue, but maybe multiple knives either got dropped or there's something going on with manufacturing, but wow, so interesting. A little hang at, a little kind of bend in the blade. Alright, I've got a piece of basswood here. Yeah, that's better. That one at least cleaned up a little bit more easily. Not quite as obvious, but still a little tiny bend in the tip. Alright, so far, first impressions. The handle is, ooh, yeah, I don't mind that handle. I actually, I like the feel of that. Very ergonomic. I would say I like it a little bit. Oh, I don't know. I like the girth of this one, though. I like the width of this one as well. I mean, I have slightly bigger hands. This one also feels good. The facets gives it a little bit more grip. I think the handle shape is really nice. I've never had a problem with Flexcut's knife handle shapes. Alright, so part of the joy of doing this is I want to actually compare it to the high-end knives that I do have here. I've got a couple of really nice knives. The one I've been using most is this deep holler knife. Now this is a handmade blade and I've been really enjoying it. So I'm going to do a little compare and contrast to that. Now these are very similar lengths, And thicknesses. I actually requested from Depoler that they make this one a little bit thicker, because I do kind of like that thicker profile, just slightly, not too thick, but just like a mil or so or two is good. So interesting, there's a little bit of a remnant of the manufacturing process on this guy. And you know, guys, I'm being really critical. I'm being super critical of this because that's kind of the point of these videos. Okay, a little scratch here and there, but you know, maybe they just sent me a little bit of a dirty one because they said, oh, that Alec guy, he doesn't deserve anything more than the dirty ones. I don't know. But let's look at the other. Was the other knife equally weird in the fit and finish? Let's see, what did I do with that? Oh boy. Well, we'll put that aside for now. These other ones don't look to have any weird marring. Let me pull these out. Got a lot of knives here to play with. Let's see. Yeah, okay. These ones don't have that finish issue that this one does. So that's good. I mean, they're beautiful handles. I wonder what these are. I should be able to identify just from looking at it. Is it, I wonder if it's got a stain. Is it like an, it almost reminds me of an elm or something. I don't know. You guys could probably tell from looking at this. Let's see if it says anything. Handle is the result of testing flat side. Oh, cherry wood. Okay, I wondered if it was cherry. I did. Okay, something about that, so the way there's a little grain tear in there, I just thought, oh, maybe that's not. But yeah, cherry, that's very nice. We removed bulk from under the blade to eliminate interference with tight cuts. Yeah, that's good, because I like that you don't want a heavy shoulder on the tip of the blade because it'll bump into the wood, so that was a nice call in terms of design. You can see Depoler does the same thing, in fact maybe even a little bit more of that, to make sure that blade doesn't get in the way of the wood. So let's do a little side-by-side comparison. It's not totally fair because I've been carving with this one a lot recently, and so it might not be quite as sharp as factory. Ooh, I don't know. That's pretty dang sharp, though. Look at that. Ooh, that's nice. Okay, so that's my Depoler. That's going to be my control knife. I know I like that one a lot. Now let's take a look at this blade. First thing I wanted to mention about this, I really like that it is pro in that it's got a heel to edge grind angle. It's got a full Scandi, a flat. This is actually considered a flat grind, right? So this is what we want to see in a carving tool. Ooh, that's pretty good. Ooh, that's very nice. Yep. There's nothing wrong with that. Hear that zip? All right. Well, I promised a carving, so. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. Let's try this one again, or a Depoler knife. Excuse those cables. Now, of course, I've done a lot of stropping to this one. Wow. Yeah, this one slides through a little bit more easily. I don't know if it's the thickness of the blade, or I've just done some more stropping to it. Yeah, it is. It is a little thinner. I think this Flexcut blade's a little bit thicker, which makes it a little bit more challenging to drive it through the material. Although it's, by no means is it hard to drive through the material. It's very, very nice. All right, so let's do a little carve with it. Okay. So far, it's got a nice edge to it. I'm not seeing any scratches from the blade, which is good. Let's see how that tip behaves. Yeah, because of that tip being a little bit weird. No, it's not having any major impact on the wood itself, which is good. Yeah, no scratches, which is awesome. Let's try one of the other blades. Keep this interesting. All right, I've got the 2-inch blade. Oh, here's the 2-inch blade. Wow, this thing is big. Let's see if it has that. This one doesn't have the bent edge. It's got a very nice edge. just on inspection, it looks like it's got a nice polish to it. A few subtle lines from the initial grinding, but I mean, they really did a nice job otherwise with factory polish. Looking good. Looking good, Flexcut. That's a thick blade, but it does what I want it to do. It kind of tapers. Could taper a little bit more from the heel to the tip. Oh, wow, this one's even sharper. This one's really sharp. That's nice. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. Why is this one sharper? I don't understand. That's strange. Huh. All right, let's compare it to the Flexcut Skewed detail knife. Now, this is a $30 knife. This is not the full flat grind angle. This is a partial grind angle. You can see that. And this may need to be sharpened, but yeah, I mean, this one's handling itself quite well too. So I don't have a problem with this one. Yeah, I mean, it is on that, you know, when you're cutting against the grain, it is nice to have that flat grind. It just moves through the wood a little bit more easily than the semi-flat ground Scandi Skewed detail knife, the cheaper blade. It just is a little bit harder to drive it through the material. And granted, this one probably could use a little stropping. Although I mean, this is actually sharpened pretty well, the Skewed detail knife. So again, you're saving yourself $7. So if you're a beginner and you're starting out, you might not want to spend the extra $7. This will get you by. I mean, I've had great luck with this blade. I've really enjoyed using it. I like the profile. This is the Skewed detail knife. If you're looking for it, I'll put it in the description. I mean, it's a good blade for the money, for 30 bones. I would say it's a nice little upgrade from the Beavercraft blade, which is, I mean, incomparably cheap though. I mean, the Beavercraft is $12, $13 for the blade, and it just is pretty decent. But we're comparing pro knives against pro knives here, so it's a little unfair. But yeah, this is a comfortable blade. I like the thickness of the handle. I like the steel is good. It's certainly good enough. We've got the cherry handle again, the new Pro Series. I mean, that is, but I mean, there's another way of looking at this. If you have the extra cash to spend, not everyone does. $7 does make a difference. This is a nicer carving experience, at least so far. And there's something to be said. If you're like into carving, you've been carving for a little while with a cheaper knife, and you feel like it's time to upgrade your blade, I mean, should you do this, or should you go after one of the small handcrafted, small batch makers? Well, this is, the thing about it is there's a convenience factor to ordering a manufactured blade on Amazon, right? Because you can get that sucker to your house within a couple of days for most people, at least living in the States. Probably true for Canada as well. The way that old Bezos has made it easy to get widely manufactured products like Flexcut tools in your hands in little time. This is practical. You know, if you're reaching out to Deep Holler or, you know, Badger State Blades, there might be a little bit more of a turnaround time. Yeah, who knows? I don't want to speak for them. If you guys are watching this, comment in the description below. You're getting a handmade product though. That I don't know that blade. I don't know what they're charging. I'm thinking this is like $40. Maybe it's, you know, a little less. But this Deep Holler knife, I mean, it is really. There's a lot of love that went into the making of this blade. I like the handle just as much. You know, I actually prefer a little bit of, I like the heft in the handle, and I like the taper of this handle as well. So maybe, oh, that's tough. The edge might go to, I don't know, something about the straight handle appeals to me more though than the belly. Although I like the big handle, something about the straight handle I prefer. This is all personal preference, but all right, let me put a little bit more time under this detail knife. This is the 1 5/8, I believe. Is that right? 1 3/8 detail knife. So it's a little shorter. My goodness, I like it. I like it. I like it about as much as I expected to like it. And that's pretty well. It is annoying to me that for 37 bucks in American dollars, in US dollars, that this blade had a little bend in it. That shouldn't happen. Flexcut, if you're watching this, why is there a little bend in this? Is this just like, did I just happen to get a couple of duds? I don't like that. Is it impairing my carving experience all that much? No, not really. You know, so I guess I can't get too mad. I like getting mad though sometimes for no reason. We're just doing a little wood spirit, why not? Oh, I like the thinness of that blade for these little plunge cuts. I mean, that is so pointy and thin. Like in terms of the width, it allows it to articulate well. The width of the blade, as opposed to say this larger depoler knife, with a little bit more of a broad tip. The downside to this is this blade is going to be more liable to snap, as opposed to this one's going to be a little bit more robust structurally, right? So, man, that is tough. But at the same time, the Flexcut hasn't snapped, and that's got quite a point to it. This one's held up pretty well. So they've done something right with their blades. I mean, when it comes to the durability, I've never had one snap. They're tempered pretty well. Something to note about the $30 Skewed detail knife from Flexcut is I don't know if the steel is quite to the same standard as the higher end, say the depoler or the Drake or the what's another? I'm drawing a blank. The OCC tools, who are they owned by now? God, it's hard for me to keep track. Anyway, the point I'm making here is, you know, the steel holds up really well, but I noticed the occasional nick in the material, and yet at the same time you notice the same sort of nicks in the cheaper blades, or sorry, in the fancier blades. The depoler knife, occasionally a little chunk will show up out of that blade that I wasn't expecting, so I'll have to, you know, play with the sharpening of it. But I do like that profile. I really like the profile of that blade. Was that a snap of the wood? Okay, yeah. thought that was the blade for a second. Man, I think I'm gonna enjoy this blade. I like the profile. I like how thin the tip is. As long as it stays together. And I'll have to do a follow-up. I know just recently did a follow-up for folks, and they're really wanting to see what the review was of that Flexcut carving jack, and I gave that a few months, and it held up pretty well. I actually was pretty surprised with how nicely that blade held up. But yeah, this will be interesting to see how it stands the test of time. But so far, yeah, it's really, it is an improvement from the previous non-pro gen of Flexcut knives. So for $7 extra, or $6 or $7 extra, you're getting a better product, at least from what I can see so far. It's a little early to tell, like definitively. But I could see if you were, again, you had a cheap knife, you had maybe the Beavercraft $12 carving knife, and you wanted to upgrade, it might be worth spending the extra few bones to get the pro version. I don't know what it is about that extra long 2-inch, but that is really long. Why don't we, or sharp, I mean, let's look at the 1 5/8 carving blade. This is like what they would just call their carving knife, which again is a little bit long, but still not too bad. Let's see how this one holds up. Okay, no scratches in it. I think that must have been a detail knife problem that they've had. Yeah, it's holding detail pretty well. Or sorry, it's creating nice sharp cuts with the tip. In other words, the tip is nice and sharp. Sometimes you see blades come in from manufacturing with a blunt tip, and that can really impact at least the way that I carve. I really like to use the tip of the blade a lot in the type of knife work that I do. I'm not carving anything fancy here, guys. I think you knew that was going to be the case, but man, this is a sweet little knife. What's nice about it is it does have a little bit of that broader tip to it, sort of like we talked about with the deep holler. Maybe even a little broader. In other words, it's got a little bit more width closer to the top than the deep holler profile, and definitely more than the Skewed Flexcut, although this is not a apples to apples comparison. This is a totally specialized knife, although I use it pretty across the board with a lot of success. Oh man, yeah, this is knife. Nice, not knife. But I mean, what do you expect? Flexcut has had a good reputation. They're a good knife maker. They're a good tool maker for the intermediate realm. And this is, to my knowledge, I know they're full-size tools. I think they would consider those pro. And those, I use those quite a bit, and they are, I would say, a good intermediate to intermediate advanced type tool. Would I say they're as good as the Vise, the Swiss-made, the German makers, you know, like Two Cherries, and the group that distributes those. There's a couple different brands that distribute those Two Cherries tools. But no, I wouldn't say it's as good as those. But for the money, I mean, gosh, it's like half the price. And how much is a Swiss-made bench knife nowadays? I haven't looked into it. I'll post that in the text below if I think of it in the description, but into a link to that. But this is, I don't know, I'm liking it. I could definitely see if you were, now here's the question, if you were someone who had the Skewed detail knife or the bench knife from Flexcut, the non-Pro series, would you switch to get the Pro series blade? Well, that depends on a few things. How handy are you with a stone, a grinder, a shaper? How handy are you with modifying your blades? If you are handy with modifying your blades, you could fairly reasonably turn your Flexcut gouge into a full grind. In other words, you could just take your blade and grind that partial grind into a full grind and make it sleeker and slip through the wood that much more easily. And that wouldn't be a bad call. But if you're not handy with that sort of thing and you're not a big fan of grinding your tools, although I would argue if you're a carver, you really should learn how to use basic sharpening techniques. This would be really nice. You know, I mean, there's something to, look, I haven't done that to this tool, right? And I have the skills to grind this thing back. I haven't done it because it works fine. So if you have the extra money to spend, should you spend it on this Pro Series blade? Well, first of all, it does look pretty nice. Yeah, it looks nice. It looks kind of like a whale. To me, this looks like a narwhal or something. If you just move this blade up a little higher. It's pretty cute. Cherry wood, that's a nice touch. I would say that's a nice touch. Ergonomically, it's pretty good. Is it the best knife that I've ever held? No. The blade steel, is it good? I mean, so far, it's not compromised. I'm not seeing any lines appear. I really should keep carving, though, because what if something appeared? it's a pretty. I mean, honestly, it's a really nice blade. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a nice blade, barring the weird imperfections I noticed on that detail knife, which that's not insignificant. I don't like that. Although it's it's not presenting any lines in the wood that I'm noticing. Although I did try and polish it out with the strap. I don't know, guys. I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Liking it pretty well. I'm liking it. I don't want to put it down. So that's a good sign. That's a good sign. All right, let's try the others that I don't really care as much about. Okay, now I'm glad to see that there's not a bent tip on this chip carving knife, because that would be a deal breaker. I know for you chip carvers out there, you need that nice sharp point for your chip carving, right? So let's do a little chip carving here. Let's make his eyes look off to the side. Use the tip of that. It plunges pretty well. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Now again, at the time of recording this, these blades are about just under 40 bucks a piece, $37 a piece, which does punch in a little lower than the handmade makers for the most part. I mean, you might be able to find, what is Badger State Blades? Let me check on that. Whoa, okay, I'm glad I checked on that. Deep Holler is about 60 and Badger State is right at about 100 right now. So, I mean, you're not going to touch any Pro Series knife right now for anywhere near $37, at least in those two realms. There are other makers. Please pipe up in the comments below if you have another maker that you'd like to see me review. I'm sure there are some cheaper brands, but the ones that I'm used to, man, they're definitely they're with the times. Inflation is real, so we gotta charge more for things, unfortunately, and yeah, so that really does bring this, to me, to a much more affordable level than some of the handcrafted knives, which that's the way it should be. I mean, manufactured stuff should be cheaper than handmade custom stuff. That's just the way it is. Although I really like the detail blade. I really like this 1 3/8. I like the little pointy tip that we got. Look at that, I can get the nostrils in there. Pretty straightforward with that. Anyway, I'll leave you guys. This has been a nice little test, and to be honest, I would say these are, oh, as my tripod falls, these are remarkably good for the money. I don't have, well, let's do a quick pros and cons review. All right, so the first con is a little bit of a questionable, like a possibility of a bent tip, just a slight little hair on the tip of the blade could have a problem. It's, I strapped it out pretty well without a lot of work, so am I going to get upset about that? It's a con, okay? Another con, the handle shape is a little meaty, so if you've got small hands, this might be a lot for you. I don't know. For me, it's good. In fact, I like it. For those of you who are experienced carvers, you'll appreciate the fit and finish. The quality of the material is nice. The cherry wood, that's a nice touch. I don't have a lot of cherry wood handled tools. I have some walnut, some ash. I have some. Let's see what else. Walnut, ash, alder, stuff like that. But not a lot of cherry. So that is actually a pretty sweet touch on their part. I appreciate that they did that. And they could have priced this at 45. Bucks a piece. Idealistically they'd be 35, but I think 45 is something that they could have easily asked for, and 37 I think is affordable. So do I think it's worth it? If you are in the lower end knife game and you're trying to upgrade and you have a few extra bucks to spend, yeah, with those qualifications, yeah, these are nice. I mean, these are surprisingly nice. These Hawking, I call them Hawking, but these big roughing knives, that's surprisingly nice. I don't know, I guess if you're really trying to remove bulk material, that would be nice to have, right, if you don't have a bandsaw. This blade, I actually like more than I thought. I thought it was a little too long, but I could see myself sporting this knife day in, day out. Personally, I like the fact that it didn't have the little nick in the top, so that might be the safest bet. Unless you're really comfortable with the shorter blades, like I am, in which case this is the best profile for someone like me. 1 3/8". Their detail knife would be the knife that I'd probably use most often, just because it gives me a lot of control. I have just a lot easier of a time using a knife this small. And it's good. The pros are it's sharp. So far it's stayed sharp. Typically you'd see any serious problems with metal in a small project like this. You'd start to see lines forming. You'd feel more resistance in the blade after a short while, and I haven't noticed any of that. So the blade quality is pretty typical of Flexcut. Let's see, did they say anything about the blade? It may even be a little better, to be honest. Let's see, we took our famous flat grind for ultimate precision. Heat-treated blades boast the most precise and durable detailed tips yet. Seriously, these blades might redefine the... Okay, some marketing hoo-ha. Between the choil and heel of the cutting edge. Ooh, there's a good term, choil. You will have a more consistent strapping experience, keeping you sharper for longer. Yeah, I mean, so far, so good. I'll keep you guys updated. Thanks for tuning in. This was kind of a long one. Take your vitamins per usual, and if you want to learn more about carving faces like this one, I've got an online school with tons of projects, in-depth guides to creating realistic portraits in wood, and that's that. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.